Guys, we're doomed. I mean, just check this out.
Better and faster than 90% of all architects.
90%.
AI is making floor plans for you. With Finch 3D, you can calculate the carbon footprint and you can actually render whatever architecture you want. Also, it can design for you using Midjourney, dall-e, Stable Diffusion, or creating documentation for you.
Documentation.
Detailed. It's just happening right on top of the AI tools. Like what?
What?
For construction, that's wild.
I agree with this gentleman. This is wild. In case you have not yet discovered, we are on a frontier right now trying to figure out if AI is going to kill all architects and designers. And by the sounds of it, this gentleman says that it's all over. 90% of us are gone. That's it. No more because of AI. Now, if this is your first time on this channel, welcome and settle down because this is going to be a fun little journey. Now, I'm going to take a look at a few videos that talk about AI and architecture. Some of them, they look promising. Some of them, not so much. But the idea here is that I want to try to get my finger on the pulse of AI architecture through the lens of other creators and have a little conversation about what our thoughts are, and I welcome you to join this conversation through the comments down below. I try to answer everybody. Even the people that are not so friendly, not so nice. But anyway, what this gentleman is saying about AI, and I'm just gonna hit play on there on the background. This is actually really interesting. So he's actually talking about a few different things, right, that are gonna lead us to our demise. The first one is generating floor plans here, and why does this cop keep popping up? All right, now as my friend Andy over here is trying to point out the demise of us architects, there's a couple of things that he brings up. The first is that it's going to generate, AI is able to generate floor plans. So honestly, that's not a big deal. I don't think that architects struggle with generating floor plans. And if you do struggle with it, then it's it's probably something that architects need to work on. What AI is good for, though, is generating like a large amount of floor plans at the same time, right? That's not something that an architect can really do. This is more useful, I feel like, if you're experimenting with cookie cutter type architecture. But if you're making something that's like very unique to the homeowner, for example, like a homeowner's experience, like this is not going to fly, because they're going to want something that tailors more to the experience rather than the efficiency. A lot of these AI floor plan creators tend to work more on the efficiency side, where they try kind of like to reduce corridor and wasted space by just generating plans that work more efficiently, right? So that's one of the goals with these AI programs. But honestly, it's not something that's really useful, to be honest with you. And even if AI got really good at generating floor plans, again, it most would be used for either like developers who want to just buy a piece of land and just get a bunch of stuff, generated, and then they would cut that fee out of the architect. So they wouldn't basically pay the architect to devise a floor plan. But, programming and whatnot, it's usually something that the developer brings to the table anyway. So I really don't see it like as a big deal for architects. I don't see architects suffering a whole lot from this. If anything, it'll help out architects, because like I said, you're able to generate 1,000 plans, and then you're able to go through them and see which one works best in your opinion. But again, I don't think this is a big deal. So to this for now. So then the other thing that he brings up is calculating carbon footprint. Again, there are other programs that do this. I don't see why you would rely on AI to do that for you. So that's kind of gimmicky, to be honest with you. Now, if you are able to, and I don't think AI does this yet, and if it does it, I don't think it does it well. I could be wrong here, but if you're able to generate masses, and then like let's say you have a site, right, and then you want to see what is the most carbon efficient design, right, the envelope that also follows code, right, that's within code, and it generates like some sort of document that tells you this envelope design is best suited for this climate because of yada yada yada. And maybe it'll give you a few options, like this is for rainwater harvesting, this is to mitigate solar exposure on the south, blah 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 blah. then in that case, something like that would actually be very useful. Something that's generating certain heat zones and graphs like this, and then you're able to present that envelope to the actual client. I mean, that'd be amazing, to be honest with you. The caveat, right? Which I say caveat because like I can feel the cringe from some of you designers looking at me like, ugh, so that means I'm not gonna get to design the envelope. Well, I mean, like, look at cars, right? Cars are, they're kind of like designed because of aerodynamics and to be as efficient as possible when it comes to wind flow and speeds and all these other physical calculations. And so there exists like some sort of setbacks that car designers have to follow, basically, because otherwise the cars are not going to be efficient. They're not going to follow their main purpose, right? And so if you're a car designer, you kind of lose a lot of your ability to design whatever you want because you have to stick to these rules that are now generated through studies and whatnot. And so that's kind of like how I see AI generating a bunch of like footprints to allow you to choose from, because like, yeah, it does suck that we are not able to generate like these super fancy designs. But then at the very least, we know for sure that we can generate designs that are better for the environment or are more efficient, that'll make more money for these super rich developers over the long run. So I guess there's definitely some pros and cons there. And to be honest with you, like, I feel like an architect who uses AI in this way, again, in the way that I'm describing, not necessarily this shitty way right here, but in the way that I'm describing, an architect that's able to do that can always tweak the design. Like, they could always say like, all right, you see this program developed this spiral twisting torso thing. It is going to be the most efficient, but what if we just edit the podium a little bit because it's going to, make the user feel like this? And then they could start to bring in some design into that. So they kind of reverse engineer what they started with. So that in that way, I'll bite. I'll take a bite. But again, I sense the hatred of you designers out there who really want AI to stay out of anything creative. Listen. I get it. Okay, I get it. Let's continue here and see what else Mr. Andy is saying. So rendering for you, honestly, this is probably one of the first things that we all saw AI dip its little digital toes into in architecture. It's fine, as you can see right there. Like this rendering is beautiful. Long gone are the days of needing Corona, V-Ray, and all that stuff. You don't really need that. So unfortunately, this is probably going to affect artists, architectural visualization artists, immediately. Like pretty much once users, or not users, but like developers and whatnot start to understand how to use this, and once this really gets really good, goodbye to paying $1,000 for renders. It's just not going to happen. You'll do it with a click of a button, and all these developers will pay a couple dollars per renders. It's just unfortunately what's going to happen. Now, that's not to say that all these artists are going to be extinct. If you look at, like, for example, sketching, hand sketches, who the hell pays anybody to sketch a building, right? Nobody gets paid for that. But I'm not going to say nobody. I'm just going to say like 99% of people do not get paid for sketching. But there are a few outliers who are really freaking talented, who've made a name for themselves, that now sell their sketches at like incredible amounts of money. So that's how I see architectural visualization. I cannot say that word. I see it as it's going to be like a specialization where there's going to be significantly less amount of renderers out there, but the ones that are there have figured out how to like add their own style and also market themselves in a way that catches the attention of certain developers that want to display their works of art in this way. So unfortunately, it's really going to take over AI rendering. If it hasn't already, it's getting really freaking good. It's not there yet though. It's not there, but in a couple of years it'll be good. It kind of sucks. It gives you like a bunch of options to choose from, but you can't, not really greatly. You can't really like spec materials or finishes. You can kind of type it up through prompts, but that's bullshit. For it to be actual use, you'd have to spec out like a million patterns and brands of certain things. But it's great for conceptual design. It's amazing for that. But at this moment in time, you can't really use it for like a final product, right? You can't really use it once you have your design and you're like, all right, this is what it's going to look like at the final thing. Can't really use it for that. So let's see. Yeah, this is Midjourney and dall-e. Yeah, it's really not a big deal. I'm not afraid about it. This is the interesting thing. Construction documentation. Arguably, the thing that takes the most time in architecture is documenting the project. I don't think that we are at risk of losing our jobs just yet. I've used a couple programs that are able to kind of cut a bunch of elevations and sections and sheet them and stuff, and it does speed up the process, but it's not great. And let me give you guys a point of reference here. For those of you guys who work in a firm, right, you have probably run into a project that was handed over to you. So someone did a Revit project, right? They did a schematic design version of it, and then they, for whatever reason, that project got halted, and then years later, it got passed on to you. Okay, so what happens, right? Let's assume that the people that pass it on to you were not as skilled as you are, or even if they were even more skilled than you, there's gonna be like a problem with communicating how certain things were done. Because as you all know, things like Revit and AutoCAD, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, and so not all of us work on it in the same way. It takes a very like strict structure, following certain rules in either program to really pass that on to someone else or be passed on a project like this and be able to work on it immediately. So you do have to break it down a little bit and see what the hell they did, whatever. Imagine that with AI. Like AI generates all these plans and everything, and let's say it generated the whole building. Like for, I don't know, through a prompt, it was so freaking powerful that it can generate the building and generate all the sheets. Well, what happens when changes come? Because like it's inevitable. Like changes happen in architecture. It's something that's just the true spirit of architecture, is that changes will come. So like I don't see how AI can get good at you telling it like, all right, you see this window, I want this window to be this type of window, spec certain things, draw out the details of the window sills and jambs and whatnot. It's just like, yes, it's possible, but long, especially where it's at right now. Because the thing is, like, for it to work perfectly, it would first have to generate the building, right? And for it to generate the building, it would have to understand code, which is really not that complicated for it to do. Like, it could generate something based off of code and everything. But like, clients are never happy with whatever you present to them. So there's going to be changes and changes throughout. And then how easy is that AI going to be able to adapt to these changes? I think that's what's going to make it the key of where we're going to get replaced. And I don't think that we're going to get replaced, guys. Like, architecture is something that evolves over time. As you've seen, we went from drawing by hand to now going into everything digital models and plans, and then now we're doing VR and AR, and that kind of like like jumped up out of nowhere, and then it's kind of like dying down a little bit, and then 3D printing was supposed to like make everybody lose their jobs, and then it's back down again, and that's how all these things are. So I think AI is a real big threat, but I don't think it's a threat for us to lose our jobs. I think it's a threat for us to kind of like get creative with the way that we do our jobs and kind of force us to move into the next phase. So technology doesn't ever phase us out, but it does kind of force us to adapt or get left behind. It sucks in a lot of ways, but it's unfortunately or fortunately, depends how you look at it, the way of the future. But like I mentioned before, this is going to be the most useful. Like once AI does this, like it's going to really speed everything up. And it's going to be really useful for us, but it's also going to make clients require more of us, because clients are going to want more buildings done at the same time. So basically what firms are going to do is that they're going to start to hire just, I guess, like mini project managers that oversee what the AI is doing. They're not necessarily drafting themselves. They're just kind of like just hitting a button, making sure everything is smooth, everything is up to code. They're just basically, like mini project managers. And then instead of a firm having 20 projects per year, they're going to have like 4,000 projects a year. So it's just going to be like Ford over here cranking out a bunch of projects, from its conveyor belt. I think that's basically what the risk is going to be.
AI building energy analysis.
Okay.
Here's a tool that can analyze a building based on cost, carbon, and energy. All you need is to enter 3 simple values: building type, location, and energy code. This tool will take over from there.
Oh,
AI is taking over.
we're gone, baby. AI. That's it. We are done. But yeah, guys, a lot of this stuff is cool. A lot of this stuff is very useful to developers who are trying to create very efficient buildings. And if they can get award for getting like LEED certified, for example, and get other benefits, you know, they're going to use this kind of stuff. I don't see like how AI is really useful for kind of this stuff. AI is going to be useful for this once it's able to take the information and dissect everything. So you saw how right now there was like little drop boxes. That's kind of stupid in my opinion. That's just like, it's like social media when it was in its infancy. You know, it was like really not useful in any way, and then like look at what it's become present day. Same thing can be said about the internet. But the point is, AI is going to be very useful once you are able to tell it, like give it an address like you saw here, and then AI is going to create that envelope like I mentioned before, create that design, give you a few options, which one would be better for what, because there's not one perfect answer. There's going to be a variation of them. And then from there, it then tells you, you know, what code is allowing you to do or not do and how you can circumvent certain parts of the code. That's when it's going to get very powerful. Not sure we're there yet, but I bet you some brilliant minds are you know, in their basements working on this kind of stuff.
In seconds.
All right.
AI technology. Maquette AI is a website where you can
Maquette, not sponsored by them, by the way.
You can add the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and garages, as well as optional closets, balconies, and walk-ins. Then the AI takes care of the rest and generates 4 iterations that try to be the most accurate to the settings that you put in. This tool gives you the ability to
Hold on. Let's pause. Let's break this down. Let's see how well this did. So right off the bat, you got 2 bathrooms right next to each other. No door. You don't have doors into any bedrooms. You do have a door into the garage. So you have 2. This is a mess, guys. This is a mess. But let's be fair here. It's in its infancy. You know, it's generic stuff. It's just pushing out whatever the hell it wants. It didn't do a horrible job. Okay. In terms of organization and spatial configuration, it did a terrible job. We can all agree on that. But it didn't do a terrible job on drafting the stuff. You know, like a developer could easily generate a plan like this that he likes. He could spend hours just fiddling through all these different things and then hand this over to an architect and say like, look, I like this plan. You make it work now. Again, it's not the happiest day for architects around the world if something like this becomes true, but for those of us that have worked with a lot of developers who just want to design it their own way, and we're kind of just like curating their ideas and following code for them and whatnot, this is a good option. It's not a terrible option. Again, I don't think this is like gonna lead us to our demise. I don't think this right here, this feature right here, is gonna take over. I think if I haven't made this point clear, I think the combination of all these little features working together, like Revit 2.0, which I'm sure right now that Autodesk is like, you know, eyes wide open, seeking around, looking for what company is closest to developing this shit to immediately just buy them out. Like I know, like Autodesk is like this. So eventually we're going to have a Revit 2.0. It's probably not going to be Revit. Maybe it is. I know Revit's adding some of these features to it, and there's a lot of cool plugins, but eventually Autodesk is going to just swipe up a small little company that created a super cool Revit where you just literally sketch an idea and then take a picture of it and then upload it, and then boom, it just generates a building, and then you chat with it and you're like, hey, I need these sheets. Or even better, you tell it like, all right, I'm going to submit this project to this county. Go in and find out what are the county codes, like everything from the municipality, and then see what sheets are needed, and then generate those sheets, and then plug everything in and print me a PDF set. It's going to do everything for you, and then you just mark it up, and then you upload those markups, and then the AI just reads it and does everything for you. So that's what's going to be like leading us to our demise, you know, that level. But this stuff right here, it's just fun to look at. I like speculating. I like looking at this kind of stuff. But basically, when AI does everything that an architect does, obviously doesn't need to be said, right? All right. This is like big brain stuff here that I'm saying. That's when architects and designers are doomed. But again, I don't think that architects and designers are at risk of losing their jobs any time now. I think it's just going to be a sort of like evolution that's going to happen.
Technology is rocking the world of architecture. It's like entering a futuristic world where buildings could transform into breathtaking works of art.
It looks amazing.
Serving the environment. Through various programs, AI may assist architects in designing future
Assist is a good word.
architectural proposals,
Yeah.
including passive design techniques, material selection, sustainable predictive modeling, facade optimization,
Yep.
planning recommendations with sustainable integration with nature, and many other collaborations between architects and AI. Green structures, futuristic biophilic air purification.
Yeah, we get it. It's funny because that was an AI voice reading it, probably an AI generated script. So we're basically having an AI create an AI script to then read us that AI script with an AI voice about how AI is going to take over the world. It's like Inception up in here, all this AI going on. This actually, the way that this was phrased, it put everything that I've said into like a really small, easily digestible explanation, which is what it just said. So if you didn't understand it, rewind, because I'm not gonna sit here and try to say everything that this said, because I will butcher it, honestly. But there you go. That's exactly what it's good at. Now, all these renders and stuff, it's kind of cool, you know, but this doesn't really help anybody because it's about detailing this kind of work. Like, how do you build this? That's what's important. How do you build this stuff? Not what it looks like. We can get to the how it's gonna look like, but how's it gonna be built? You know?
You guys have to see this.
Okay.
So we asked AI to add a second story.
No,
to
you
our
didn't.
house,
No, you
and
didn't.
This is what it came up with. This is the original image, of course. Boom. Look at that. Are you kidding?
You're kidding.
How cool is this? And I
Really?
think the coolest thing about
Really?
it is that there are endless options. It could generate
Infinite?
endless different options for you. And this only took like a second.
Dude,
This is
no,
gonna,
it didn't.
like,
That had to have
revolutionize
taken
stuff
months,
like
dude.
that. Contractors work, architects work. I mean, I know that not all of these are possible and they're not the most perfect image, but this is wonderful for inspiration. I mean,
Yeah, that's exactly what this gentleman said. Inspiration. That's what it's good for. I mean, you guys, no matter who,
to add a second
no matter how much you guys hate on this kind of stuff, you gotta admit that this is a very powerful tool. Like being able to. We all know that the hardest thing about starting a design is looking at that blank canvas, right? You look at it, you don't know where to start. So you look at this house, let's say you're doing a remodel, you want to redesign it. Boom! In the click of a button, as cool as this guy said, it's the coolest thing that he's ever seen. It's the coolest thing that I've ever seen. There, your work is done. Now you can just focus on creating the plans to show the contractor, right? Right? Like, I'm being a little sarcastic, but there's also some truth in that. Like, this is pretty freaking powerful, you know? I know. Every time I say something like this, guys, like, people just want to injure me badly. And I'm not saying that this is, like, the best thing ever, but I'm just saying, like, guys, there's value in this, okay? And I'm not being sarcastic right now. There is some value. You don't have to feel threatened because a computer program was able to generate some ideas for you. Hey, if you don't want it, don't use it, but at least it's there. It's a cool tool, guys. It's a cool, I swear, some of you guys out there, it's like when I say stuff like this, it's like me presenting the handsaw for the first time. Like, you guys don't want to see it. You guys want to freaking use rocks to score a line and then break it with your fists. No, dude, like we have this new thing. It's called saw. Let's use it. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but it's there and it's a cool thing.
Artificial intelligence is about to make architecture look very different.
Okay.
Some people are arguing that it's going to take away jobs and ruin the entire career field.
We've been talking about this.
These are some images that I made for a project in Midjourney. It's a AI software online that you can use, and it made this in less than 15 seconds.
Jesus.
In fact, there's a lot of software
Speed.
that can do this. Bing Images, which is completely free, and Adobe Firefly can make renderings like this in under a minute. It's scary because usually modeling like this, from creating the model and rendering it, it takes weeks to make images like this. For it to be made in under less than a minute is kind of threatening to our entire career field. But this is a phenomenon that we've heard of, and it's not new. With every technological invention, everyone's always afraid where the job's going to go that it replaces it. The same thing happened to car manufacturers when robots took over the assembly line production. Yes, while it did take...
All right, something that she mentioned right around here is how scary it is, how efficient this AI is making at these images. And let's kind of skip ahead a little bit. Let's say that not only did AI create this image, let's say it created the model for this image. That is pretty powerful stuff. It's going to eventually come, right? Eventually, we're going to get AI that generates models and skips all the modeling work for us. So again, as I kind of hinted at before, this is threatening but you're still going to need to know how to build the thing. Like AI doesn't know how to build the thing. AI cannot detail this kind of stuff. AI cannot figure out how to detail this stuff. Eventually it will, but at its infancy right now, the next step, the next logical step is probably that it's going to be able to generate these models for us. It's going to give us these models, and then we're going to be able to take it into Revit or SketchUp or Rhino and then edit it away and then create the plans for it. You know, pros and cons in there, pros and cons, but she's right. This would take forever to model. Like modeling this could take months to do, and it would require a very skilled person that knows how to use Grasshopper or that knows how to use any of these parametric programs, a skill that I do not have any longer. Now, the thing is, I feel that once that AI starts generating these things and you want to edit them, it's gonna be a lot of work. It's gonna be probably even more work to edit something than to just create something from scratch. So I'm curious to see how all that turns out. And if you guys need further proof that AI is taking over, I mean, look at this. Let me just mute this real quick because this song can't be here. Okay. Look at that. This dude wanted a rosemary plant and he got a literal piece of rosemary, guys. No, I'm just joking because obviously they wrote the prompt wrong. You can get that. But this video is a good sign of our future in the industry of architecture. And that's why I wanted to end here. I wanted to end on a nice little light note saying, guys, you shouldn't fear. Well, you know what? Let's not go light. Let's just be realistic here. For us in the field, what can we do? I really think that we got to educate ourselves on AI. I think if we ignore AI, then we're only hurting ourselves. We got to educate ourselves, see what kind of programs are out there, see what the competition is looking like, you know, have our finger on that pulse while also praying to our gods every night, making sure that AI doesn't take over yet and gives us at least another year of prosperity before it just, you know, closes the gate on us. Now, for those of us who are thinking of studying architecture, maybe you are in high school, maybe you are on your third career, you're 50 years old and you've decided like, hey, I want to become an architect. Cool, man. More props to you guys. You probably are thinking like, maybe I shouldn't study because AI is going to take over. Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that and this would be another video. I've probably said this before in other videos, and if not, I'll continue to hammer this thought in the future videos. But basically, if you have like a passion for buildings, I don't think that you're ever going to be put out of a job. Like if you truly have a passion, and I don't mean design, I don't mean Legos and Minecraft. Okay. I've said we all love this stuff. I mean, like literally, like you're obsessed with detailing and history and like why spaces work the way that they do and, you know, what buildings are made out of and just like looking at the x-ray, you know, i.e. the plans of buildings and looking at how they're put together. You really enjoy this kind of stuff. I don't care how much AI comes out. Like, I think you're always going to be a valuable asset to architecture. Now, if you're kind of on the fence over architecture in general and you're thinking like, oh, AI is going to take my job. Well, I don't think that's a good attitude to have anyway. I think people like that are at a higher risk of losing their job because they're going to be willing to just give up, you know, versus people that really like architecture, that really like design. They're always going to figure out how to either become an AI consultant or something, you know. I know, kind of cringy, but I'm going to end this with this. Guys, look at this wall. Come on. See this wall, how empty this wall is? There's nothing, right? You know what I want on this? I've never done this before. If you go through my old videos, you won't find a time where I do this, but there is a little space here for an object called the YouTube play button. Now, what is a YouTube play button, you ask? Well, it's this plaque that they give you. It says your cool little name on it when you reach 100,000 subscribers. Now, if you look at the amount of subscribers that I have, it is around 70,000. It's been there for years. Why? Because I just never cared. But, you know, it finally hit me like, man, I'm right there. Why don't I just try putting some effort into this? So I ask of thee, if you could hit that subscribe button. Really, it doesn't really do anything. I mean, you don't have to, but if you do, it's going to get me one step closer to this play button, which is going to be super cool. And if that happens, I'll hang it back here somewhere so that we can see it all the time, which would be awesome. And if you're thinking of other ways that, you know, could help the channel out, drop a comment, you know, Drop a comment with the word pumpernickel. That way I'll know that you made it to this part of the video. Pumpernickel. And also, by the way, liking and commenting really shows engagement to the video, and staying for a long time shows engagement. So then it kind of pushes the video out. But that's enough of my little beg tease here. So I really hate asking for subscriptions, but, you know, I thought I needed some new decor. So I hope you guys enjoyed this stuff, this little chat that we had. It's a good reason to subscribe if you want to continue to have these chats. So I want to talk more about the business of architecture and about the design. I want to kind of talk about the Trinity, the design, the AI. I can't remember what else was in the Trinity, so I just snuck AI. And there you see AI is already taking over. And then money, you know, the holy Trinity of architecture. I want to talk about it. And I want to do so in this format. It's very casual. It's very easy. You guys send me comments. Eventually, I'll take those comments and make videos out of them. So it's going to be good times. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really did. So till next time, peace out, y'all.